Hi everyone, Bandana here. I hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to the channel. So, the Summer Game Fest is here, and we've had at least one RTS announcement, and that is Game of Thrones For Westeros. Now, I'm still expecting more RTS announcements later today when we get the PC gaming show, and I'll obviously review all of that and make any videos as necessary. But today, let's focus on For Westeros. Let me know down in the comments what you think of it so far, by the way. Obviously, we've had the trailer, which is more of a cinematic trailer. Charles Dance doing the voiceover, and a likeness of Kit Harington as Jon Snow, at least. Not so sure about the other characters at the moment. Obviously, very nice cinematic trailer, lots of action, lots of stuff going on, lots of combat, dragons are in there. However, there wasn't any gameplay. Now, they have released a devblog video, and obviously there's a few screenshots on Steam, though it must be noted this is all pre-alpha footage, and I'll try and slot it in the background as we talk. The reality is they're not showing off a lot of the game at this stage. What I can say is it appears to be a smaller scale RTS when it comes to the battles. So the number of units being fielded are more along the lines of, Age of Empires rather than a total war game. Or at least that's how it appears so far. Though rather than individual units, it does appear that you will get squads of units when it comes to standard infantry and things like that. And whether you love it or loathe it in an RTS game, we will be getting hero units that level up and have special abilities. In the dev diary, they also make note that we will get access to things like siege weapons, dragons, giants, and of course the famed Dragonfire liquid. And there will be base building, like a classic RTS again, Age of Empires, Command and Conquer, etc. We can see some of those bases in some of these screenshots. And there's even a few split-second clips of them placing down buildings in the dev blog. Now, while on the RTS battle side of things, it's certainly not Total War-esque. Perhaps there's a little bit more Total War worming its way into the world map. As you can see in the image in the background that they provided, this is an image of the world map with the regions of Westeros in that section, and you can see a few more details on there, which I'll get into shortly. Now, while I say a little bit more Total War, I actually think it looks a lot more like Dawn of War Dark Crusade, specifically that campaign map. Because I don't think you're going to be moving your units around this map, and I don't think you're going to be managing cities per se. They do, however, strongly imply in the dev blog that you will be doing lots of diplomacy and things, and alliances and people stabbing you in the back will play a big role in the game, or indeed, you persuading people to stab your enemies in the back, perhaps. How much of that is done on the world map and where it's done, it's not entirely clear to me as yet, but obviously, again, pre-alpha, probably just a mock-up, etc., etc., lots of question marks. What we can see is a few interesting things on this particular screenshot. So up at the top there, we seem to have some kind of time system. Obviously there's 1, 2, 3, and then what looks like a snow globe at the end, which I assume is winter. Is that when the White Walkers come into play, or when they're allowed past the wall? Or that might even just signal that that is the end of the game and the final move you can make. Then we have the map itself, and where the cursor is currently selecting one of the House of Stark banners. It says here at the bottom left, region select the seat of power to contest. I assume this is where you will select the battle you want to do, and I'm guessing here, but you have to take over all the seats of power in a particular region to claim that region, question mark, question mark. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. And above that on the left hand side, we also have the 4 factions: House Stark, House Lannister, House Targaryen, and the White Walkers. You can play as any of these, so they said in the dev blog, including the White Walkers. They all have their individual strengths and weaknesses. Obviously, the Lannisters have lots of gold, so expect that to be one of their bonuses. Perhaps House Stark just gets a lot more loyalty from their bannermen. Though not very realistic to the show, I suppose, since they more than once turned their back on House Stark. So now you remember I mentioned about heroes. Well, yes, there you go. As you can see with the expanded House Stark, there is a level 6 Jon Snow, which again resembles Kit Harington. That's the hero, but I assume you can have more than one. Then you've got the Bannermen, which clearly come in a variety of types. I wonder if these are who will defend the point if you attack it, or if that's just what that faction currently has access to in terms of additional units. Schemes obviously relate to spying or espionage or perhaps some kind of diplomacy, and then connections. In this case, it's a ship, which this particular location that is clicked on right now is next to a lake. So does that have something to do with that lake, or is it just House Stark in general has access to the water and perhaps the Iron Islands? I obviously mention this since the Iron Islands are visible in the top left of the map. Now, of course, the other thing is we could be missing some other screen related to this map that does have more things on it related to the diplomacy or management and things like that. The reason I say that is I feel like this map right now looks pretty bare bones. There's not a lot going on this screenshot. I feel like there's room for more to be going on. So this could just be a single mode of looking at the map, and there are others. The reality is right now I genuinely just have more questions than answers about this game, but I think they're going to be doing more of these video dev blogs giving us more information as time goes on, so I guess it's going to be a bit of a case of watch this space. They're talking about this releasing next year. Whether that's definitely going to happen, they do seem very, very early on in development still, since they don't have a lot to show, and to release fully next year, at least from the outside looking in on what they've shown so far, seems quite a stretch, especially since we're already halfway through 2025. I think the one thing I haven't mentioned yet is that the entire campaign appears to be either single player or multiplayer if you so wish. And they do keep playing on this manipulate the politics of the realm to rally powerful bannermen, sway loyalties, and outmaneuver your enemies in a shifting struggle for power. And there will be a re-envisioning of the most iconic battles and turning points from the Game of Thrones series. And now this is the thing that's going to upset some people, I'm sure. The game is going to be based on the TV series, not the books. It's a Game of Thrones game, not a Song of Ice and Fire game. However, as with any property like this, they're going to go with what's more popular, which is definitely the Game of Thrones TV show. It's a bit like Starship Troopers. The books are very popular with the people who read the books, but Starship Troopers is much more well known as a movie. I use that as a point of reference because Starship Troopers Terran Command was obviously based on the movies and not the books, which upset some people. But I shall leave this video there for now. Thank you very much for joining me. Definitely looking forward to this one and seeing how it turns out. Do keep an eye on the channel, as I will obviously put out an update video when we have more information. In other words, remember to hit that subscribe button. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you all soon.